Hi everyone, Sean from AIIM here. Today we're talking about the much anticipated AIIM conference coming up April 27th through 29th. I'm joined by two of our fantastic speakers for the event, Jeff Ball and Louis Eisen. Guys, thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
Now, I want to dive right in and talk about your AIIM 21 session titled IT is from Mars, Records Management is from Venus. Can this marriage be saved? I love this title. Can you tell us a little bit more about what we can expect from the session?
Absolutely. What we're hoping to get through is a conversation about where we've been, our journey in bridging the gap between IMIT, and then quite frankly, the journey that we're still on, sharing some of our experiences, our lessons learned, and bringing that to the table so that we can discuss that a little bit further.
Yeah, I think a lot of organizations are very fortunate that the IM and IT shops work in tandem. Reporting up to the same person, but there are a lot of places that don't quite have that. Sometimes the two shops don't even report to the same area, and their mandates aren't necessarily joint. Their mandates are different, and that creates certain conflicts.
Excellent. And what kind of questions are you hoping to hear from the conference attendees?
Well, really, I think what we're hoping to get most out of it is a bit of a dialogue with the attendees and hearing a bit about their narrative, their experiences with this challenge, and maybe what they've found along the way, some of their lessons learned. So maybe in addition to obviously open question and answer format, discussion with our attendees about what they've gone through and what they've pulled out of our session, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, I know I personally cannot wait to check this out live, and you two at home can as well, but only at the AIIM Conference 2021, a galactic digital experience. We hope that you'll register and join us for an out-of-this-world experience. Another big, huge thank you to Louis and Jeff, and we'll see you at AIIM 21.
Hey, it's number one best-selling author and keynote speaker, Eric Qualman, but a lot of you know me as Equal Man. As you can hear, the birds are chirping because spring is coming, and so is AIIM 21. And I can't wait to join you. We're going to talk all about how do we focus in this unfocused world? How do we get laser focused so we can think big versus the busy? So I can't wait to join you at AIIM 21. Let's get virtual. We're gonna have some fun, entertaining, educating, empowering your audience. Heck, they might all wear these glasses. Well, it's happened before. But most important, they're gonna have key takeaways on how to digitally transform in this digital decade. How to step into becoming digital leaders, because digital leaders are made, they are not born. So here's to us partnering to light up your audience and knock this one out of the park. Here's to us joining forces to entertain, educate, and empower your audience. And until then, remember, it's not what we take from the world, it's what we leave behind.
Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. I'm just doing what I do. Won't stop doing what I do. Leaving this place, the sun's about to break. You're riding shotgun. The feeling we chased, I'm wide awake. Take me away now. 'Cause I won't go down the same old path again now. No, I've been running out of air, so let me catch my breath. Feeling up, it's making me crazy. If I'm having a good time, don't you blame me. Yeah, this feeling I've got's making me crazy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Enhance Customer Satisfaction by Transforming Your Processes. I'm Teresa Resick, Vice President of Market Intelligence here at AIM, and AIM is your host and producer of today's event. And Kofax is the underwriter of our webinar today, and I thank them very much for their support. And certainly thank you for taking the time to join us today. Now, as we get started, I just wanted to offer a few tips for participating live at our webinar. Look to the chat feature, and this is where we'll share some links throughout the day, and there'll be a link to some really cool resources for you to check out. And also go in there right now and just say hello and let us know where you're listening from. I do ask you to ask questions of our speakers as we go along today, and use the chat feature or Q&A. I'll be checking both of them. And we'll do our best to get to all of these questions towards the end of the webcast, but please submit them as you're thinking of them, and hope to have a good discussion with everybody a little bit later on. And this webinar, it is being recorded, and it will be posted to AIM.org's resources webinars page in just a few days. And then also towards the end of the webinar, I would greatly appreciate if you would take the time to participate in our feedback survey, and that will launch at the conclusion of the event, but we'll also drop the link in that chat feature throughout the time today. I greatly value your feedback and always want to know what's on your mind. And I do want to introduce our host today. And Kevin Crane is AIM's content strategist, and he's the author of many of AIM's ebooks and infographics. And that's on a wide variety of intelligent information management topics, as well as all things digital transformation. Kevin is the producer and host of AIM on Air podcast, and that podcast series was recently named one of the 10 best business process management podcasts you should listen to. So right now, I'm very pleased to turn things over to Kevin Crane to begin our talk today. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Teresa. I really appreciate you. Such a great introduction. Thank you so much. I do have an agenda screen, so I'd like to share that now if I can. See if I can share. Are you seeing my screen? Okay, Teresa.
That we are.
All right. Well, very good. Like I said, thank you so much for having me today. Enhancing customer satisfaction by improving processes. I think this is a really great idea of focusing on process, because to me, that is what it's all about. Organizations, all of our organizations run on process, no matter how big or small, what industry we're in. If we don't have our processes running for us, we don't have a business. Things that are important, like new customer onboarding or invoice processing, financial services, approving any variety of documents. And in some organizations, these could be multi-million-dollar documents that really drive the bottom line performance of our organization. So how do we do that? We do that by applying technologies and approaches that make a difference, that give us a higher degree of agility and resiliency, that allows us to respond to things like crises, like pandemics, or shifts in the way that we need to do our work today, or even capitalize on new opportunities that we really didn't even see coming just a few years ago. So when it comes to process improvement, it's all about improving that workflow and improving those processes in ways that make a difference. So the question for me then becomes, where do we put our attention? How should we move forward with digital workflow transformation? Where should we prioritize? Our own AIM research helps us point the way. According to our research, 40% of the organizations that we spoke to indicate that the biggest process improvements, the biggest yield to their efforts and investment are ones where processes cross departments, systems, or organizational boundaries. And in this webinar, I hope that we'll explore some of that. And we'll explore that in 3 big areas to consider: document intelligence, process orchestration, and connected systems. And document intelligence is applying things that make that process, those document reliant processes, more intelligent. Things like cognitive capture and artificial intelligence, working with unstructured data to automate the workflow, but also extract information and apply it in new and more insightful ways that improve our performance. But there's a lot of parts and pieces to all of that. And it's like an it's like an orchestra with multiple players, each playing their part. If they all play in harmony, it's great. If it's in discord, then it's not so great. So we'll look also at orchestrating all of the parts and pieces with users and systems and data where it matters most in processes that really drive organizational performance. And then we'll talk about connected systems, bringing it all together in ways that we hadn't maybe thought of before. Enterprise applications sitting alongside legacy applications, along things side like chatbots and mobile, and how does it all work across both internal and external boundaries in ways that can help us provide a competitive advantage for how our organization performs. I believe it's these three critical areas that, if we examine closely, will lead us to begin to map strategies that and projects that will make a difference in ways that are meaningful and move the needle in terms of digital workflow transformation. And then also today, we'll explore one very important and I think even more pressing real world implication or real world application of digital workflow transformation, and that is with digital identity verification. And this is where, when a customer provides an ID like a driver's license or a passport during an onboarding process, and more we'll see these types of online transactions being applied in a variety of ways, and organizations and businesses need to secure this information and use it in compliant and efficient ways. So we'll explore that in a real world use case, which brings me to our guest today, and that is Tyler Suss. Tyler is Director of Product Marketing at Kofax, and with a focus on intelligent automation. He's responsible for the marketing of all products that fall within Kofax's intelligent automation platform. He's an expert at robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, business process management, and he's here to talk with us about digital workflow transformation and improving our processes, the elements to consider in these areas, and later on we will discuss digital identity verification. So Tyler, welcome to the event today. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Kevin. Happy to be here, and thank you all for tuning in today. This is going to be a great discussion on digital workflow transformation. So, yeah, looking forward to diving deep into these areas.
All right. Well, Tyler, the upshot is the workplace in 2021 will demand a different set of skills and capabilities. And by this, I mean not just capabilities technically, but also organizationally. That really move the needle in terms of transformation. And the capabilities, in my mind, include the increased ability to leverage remote work as an advantage, increased information agility, process agility, and really leveraging information and processes in a really set of skills and capabilities that drive business growth despite these challenging times. Indeed, I believe that organizations that are good at adopting change or reacting to change as an impetus for innovation, that sounds grandiose, but an impetus for process improvement and really reevaluating the way that they do business will gain a competitive advantage in the new norm. But digital workflow transformation can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. From your perspective, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to Kofax? How do we put all these pieces together?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, I think one thing we've really seen, right, is as organizations start to lean more on automation more heavily, right, as they kind of progress further down this path of digital workflow transformation. What was really kind of once a nice to have is now really becoming a must have, especially as we've seen the global pandemic has rapidly accelerated, market expectations for things like frictionless digital experiences, really creating new winners and losers in its wake. So really to automate completely, organizations are starting to really transform more information intensive workflows at scale, uh, things that require more of a integrated intelligent automation strategy. So really, when we talk about what digital workflow transformation really means, that's really applying. We'll talk about these three pillars today. These three pillars to execute and automate workflows along a high value business process, which you alluded to earlier in the session here. So, when organizations really to able to embark and lock more of this digital workflow transformation, you start to see some really tangible benefits along this fueling innovation across the enterprise, accelerating work and productivity, getting more value and insights out of their data, and it really strengthening their overall competitive agility and advantage.
In what ways? So tell me a little bit more. In what practical ways? How can we apply it in processes that we may all have?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's kind of four, major categories that you can really look at. And again, digital workflow transformation is really thinking about the mindset of higher value automation opportunities, right? So some of the main workflow categories there, you look at finance and accounting workflows, things like invoice processing and AP automation. We'll look at today and explore further down customer engagement. You mentioned customer onboarding being a big area there, communications, really tailoring service and enabling self-service, operational workflows as well. So really being able to process transactions, customer service elements to that, and keeping up with changing compliance and regulatory changes as well. And then there's, more of a custom look and feel to digital workflow transformation. That's really when we start to dive into combining all of these capabilities together and being able to build out really new workflows and new means. And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up here.
Well, which brings us to document intelligence. And Tyler, as you're talking about these processes, these are processes that drive the very engine of really every organization, right? And so to me, it seems to me that using those as a construct for our efforts is a really powerful one. And I like the idea of document intelligence, because pick any process in any organization, all of these ones that you're alluding to here, you can bet that there are a number of documents that drive that process, whether they're on paper or digital or in a variety of ways, documents and information. And so document intelligence then therefore becomes sort of a must-have if we're going to compete, and a good way to leave our slower moving competitors behind. And AIM research sort of points us again in ways that we can move forward. 60% of our survey respondents say they are addressing activities that are repetitive and use standard operating procedures. That sounds to me like document intensive processes in places like human resources or accounts payable, case management. So my question for you then, there's a lot to consider in this. For example, here's a sentence that I thought was really packed with great stuff, but also to apply cognitive capture and artificial intelligence to unstructured data in order to automate and extract information and unlock data insights. Now, to you and me, that's a great sentence. We love that, right? But I think for a lot of users or a lot of decision makers, that we can start losing touch with what is really at the heart of that. And what really is at the heart of that is what makes our processes and our documents intelligent.
Yeah, yep. Great question and great point there. Taking I guess, another kind of viewpoint of this, right? So we go back to automation and really to automate those more manual and time consuming workflows, organizations must be able to ingest, classify, and extract data from documents. Could be financial documents, customer documents, contracts, forms, images, any real digital asset, especially since we are really transitioning from kind of paper to this paperless digital world, and really turn that information into more actionable insights for further processing. It can be problematic if you go at this without the right tool set, the right capabilities, that more technical side that we just said in that wonderful sentence, because data within most organizations, right, in their documents is unstructured. So it's very difficult to do much with that unless you have the right capabilities. Really where we're seeing a few market dynamics, trends, in the market where Kofax is well positioned. It's really about changing um, expectations. Customers are really looking to be able to be empowered to run document intelligence themselves without as much IT resources, right? So of course there'll be some IT involvement, but we're really seeing a change in behavior to enable that non-technical business user to run document intelligence type uh, technologies against their more common day-to-day manual steps or workflows. So that's a big trend we're seeing there. We're seeing RPA as well come into the fold. RPA's been around for some time now, but working with RPA and document intelligence, we're really seeing in the market that customers are moving from just kind of capture alone to a more complete intelligent automation value proposition. So customers are looking to use RPA for things like web scraping workflows where documents are pending approval, or maybe to help their clients find status of a claim or application. And there's obviously many systems involved in this, and we'll get to that. But so we're looking at how customers are doing more with document intelligence holistically as we look at capture, RPA, and artificial intelligence as well when you combine all three of those elements.
So bringing this all together, you mentioned RPA and a number of technologies. It seems to me that the magic sauce then is connecting all of this stuff and making it work in ways that make a difference. Connected. I guess the term I like to look at is information agility, or you could say process agility. And according to our research, 75% of the organizations that we've talked to say that getting the right information to the right person in context is still a problem. And where they're looking to apply their efforts, as I mentioned, they're looking 40%, as I mentioned earlier, are looking to automate processes that cross different departmental boundaries and system boundaries. 21% are automating document-centric transactions that require approvals. And 82%, and this was an important finding, 82% say that there is a clear linkage between this digital transformation effort and their broader business strategy. So connected systems are more and more important, the working to unify the systems and all of our critical business systems. But that can be a lot to juggle across things like legacy systems, enterprise applications, mobile applications, chatbots, and even more. So it's essential to connect systems, but more difficult than ever, is guess what I'm getting at, Tyler. So how does Kofax help us build better connected systems?
Yeah, 100%. You nailed it there, right? So the higher value automation that we're really looking at and exploring today, often starts and ends with these key business systems, right? So your automations, therefore need to efficiently and securely leverage that data across your documents, your workforce, and these systems. And Kofax is really bringing together business systems across application, legacy, chatbots, mobile, you name it, and bringing those into both internal and external business processes. So the ability to connect to systems lets customers really streamline the data. And if you're kind of seeing the story unfold, right, we started with document intelligence very purposely, right, because that is where it starts. And then when we go to the next layer here, being able to connect systems, streamline that data across systems, you're able to bring more new innovative business models and workflows to market much faster. But I think it's also it goes without saying that there's kind of two kind of fronts here, right? One is on all the technology investments organizations are making today and being able to bring in, those external technologies. But then also when you look at many of the intelligent automation platforms and vendors today, customers are really looking at using a single platform fully integrated with multiple automation technologies, again, like RPA, analytics, artificial intelligence, e-signature, all of these different types of automation tools. But having that already pre-integrated from one vendor, there's some significant advantages from time to value, also less technical debt on having to manage and constantly maintain integrations here. So again, you're looking at how do I bring in all of my existing investments that the business is already using today? And then also when I'm looking at an intelligent automation platform, right? What key capabilities does that platform have already to enable get much more faster time to value and streamlining these workflows. And I think it's also important to look at if you're evaluating an intelligent automation vendor today, what does their ecosystem look like, right? Like, what is the flexibility, that power of choice in being able to, add additional technologies or, be able to connect to applications and services that you're already operating and running with. So, being able to look at their existing ecosystem and the investments that they're making there, that's very telling in when you're selecting an intelligent automation platform from a connected systems point of view.
Especially it's challenging now in this day of remote work. I mean, connecting systems is even more and more difficult now because there's still, regardless of the progress we've made with COVID-19, there's still a great deal of uncertainty about the future of work. It sounds like a buzz term, but it's true. So connecting these systems is ever more important. And then that brings us to my next question, or our next category, if you will, and that is process orchestration. And more than ever, organizations need the ability to embrace rapid change and use it to spark innovation and drive superior results. A lot of times that means modernizing our processes, getting rid of the paper, reducing effort and expense. These are perennial benefits, but cutting costs and inefficiency are really only part of the story. To me, I believe the competitive advantages that we'll see will be found by expanding remote work and workforce capability across different workflows and different silos of process, maximizing the agility and improving those performance factors that deliver, as we're talking about today, enhanced customer experience. I think that translates into enhanced profitability. And we've been talking about starting looking at the most important processes that really drive optimal performance. But bringing all of these process players together like a great orchestra is difficult. And in collaboration with users, and then data and systems, information governance, there's also the factors to consider. That's a tough task. What best practices do you recommend for process orchestration?
Yep. So yeah, kind of moving on to the third and final pillar piece of this digital workflow transformation puzzle is probably the most important aspect of everything, and that's process orchestration, right? So, again, we started with document intelligence, which is really the ability to intake documents, data, process that more effectively. We looked at connected systems, so being able to now streamline and pull in that data through technology investments. And then we get to this piece, which process orchestration. So really the need to expand workforce capacity across multiple workflows. The benefits here, you're looking at maximizing agility, delivering enhanced experiences, especially for customers, as we're here to discuss today, but as well as employees, right? So here, Kofax, we're making it simple to add and manage both your digital workforce capacity on demand, with the flexibility and agility to scale and optimize service levels, but also really a focus on human collaboration as well. When we really look at process orchestration and some of the key uh, workflows that customers are really starting to build and apply on, you look at new customer onboarding, you'll look at claims processing, loan automation, supplier management. There's many processes here, right, and workflows that have very complicated pieces to their own respective process. So being able to visualize that, being able to make it more efficient, being able to add in on-demand capacity where it's needed, and by that on-demand capacity, I'm alluding to RPA. So that's again one of the key pieces to process orchestration. So that's that. Again, being able to add on-demand capacity to areas as well. So again, I think it's bringing together complex task automation, deep process automation, as well as the analytics and that human collaboration between human and digital workers that makes process orchestration so vital to digital workflow transformation.
Very good. We are talking today with Tyler Suss. He is Director of Product Marketing for Intelligent Automation at Kofax. We're talking about digital workflow transformation. We're talking about things like document intelligence, process orchestration, and connected systems, examining those three elements as guiding compass points as we map our strategies for workflow transformation and enabling our organization to improve performance in the new norm of business today. Now, Tyler, I have been really looking forward to having an opportunity to speak with you about digital identity verification. Certainly, the pandemic has seen a dramatic rise in the volume of online transactions, and digital identity verification is a process that I think is becoming more and more pressing. Businesses need to capture and validate this data in a secure and compliant way. And by applying transformation with tools like AI and RPA, you've been mentioning, something like digital identity verification can be done easily from a mobile device, offering a more rewarding customer experience, one that I think is absolutely required today, but also offering a number of process improvements on the backside for organizations. So tell us more. Give us a bit of a discovery on what digital identity verification is and how it works, and how we might move forward doing more with identity verification as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really have the viewpoint that, digital identity verification is a prime example of digital workflow transformation, and one that I think will make sense to the audience here. So when you really look at digital identity verification, you're really getting a great example of all three of those pillars that we just discussed in action, right? So if you look at the document intelligence layer of this, it's really a powerful combination of that cognitive capture and artificial intelligence capability that fully automates identity verification. So it enables organizations to really do three primary things here, right? You're verifying a user's identity in seconds, and that can be, have two very positive effects. Really, if you're looking to onboard customers on the device of their choosing, and we're seeing obviously this explosion of mobile device use, and many of the applications we use today, right? You're using your face to be able to log in and access. If you look at banking, if you look at any of the trading stock applications, I'm sure there's many other even just consumer facing applications that we're using today. So that customer experience element is key, but also you're also looking to help your customers and stop fraud and help mitigate risk as well by offering this type of solution for them. So it's helping on two fronts there. It's increasing the onboarding and safety of customers as well. And then it's also helping organizations that use this technology to really rapidly expand into new geographic markets as well. So, again, some of the the core benefits that we see when organizations begin to use these types of solutions. You're looking at simplifying that customer experience. You're meeting your own compliance demands, minimizing a lot of that operational impact. So more, lower friction integration into systems, which we talk about how important that is with connected systems. And you're also helping to keep fraudsters out of those applications and processes as well, detect and prevent identity fraud and cut so the costs of that for your business. So again, the three primaries when we put that lens back on mobile or IDs, passports, selfie, facial verification. These are all really kind of advanced mechanisms of document intelligence that this technology helps us with. And
So
then
how does
we
that work? I just put my driver's license on top of my iPhone.
Yeah, so it's pretty a simple process, right? But it's also on the back end not so simple. So from the customer's perspective, right, simply taking a picture of your ID or your passport, and then taking a selfie. Selfie is going to be used to really kind of match in a live validation on the
Huh.
back end. So from the customer example, again, very very simple. On the back end, though. You're using a really powerful artificial intelligence engine combining machine learning algorithms, and they're analyzing data to really cross-check and confirm across a global ID database that this is in fact you, right? So, of course, maybe people are able to alter ID images and selfies and things like that, but that cross check of a global ID database in the back end and having AI, fully automate that using, biometric facial comparison algorithms and all this very technical stuff. That's going to give you much more accurate and safe onboarding activities and such.
Well, it's almost like an automated thumbprint, right?
Yep.
It's
That's a great
absolutely.
comparison.
So that's pretty high tech in a way. That's sort of like science fiction in a way. I put my driver's license down. I do a selfie. It looks at my face. It goes out there. It goes through all the data that whatever. Make sure I'm not some sort of on a watch list, or I'm not a fraud. I'm not a fraud in some way. And then instantly onboards me if I'm just a normal guy, right? So that the experience is more instant than some other manual process I might have to go through. I can't imagine some of the kludgy processes that are still being performed today to to verify my identity. So tell me more about how this is applied in the business world in ways that move the needle in terms of process performance.
Absolutely, and all great points. And even if you think kind of pre this technology, right? A lot of the more in-person ways that we would do these things, or even using email, and honestly, you have to factor in how this really is a more secure way of doing business with a company for the end customer. So when we really talk about that customer experience, it's not so much just of streamlining the process, which is great. You're reducing that sign up friction and such, but you're also making sure that they're secure as well, and that their identity doesn't fall into the wrong hands. So when you look at some of the specific
Yes.
applications of use here, obviously we talked about the application sign up or account onboarding, which is huge, across mobile banking and insurance and loan applications and all these types of things. But then there's some that we see as well from age verification, know your customer certifications on the compliance side. Really, when you're logging into consumer applications or even websites, not having to worry about passwords falling into the wrong hands or password management from that perspective, or even if you are really trying to engage with online retails as well. So there's quite a few different applications that we're seeing in some of the main industries as well. We talked about financial services, insurance, retail, and healthcare as well is starting to pick this up as well. Again, it's uh, you know helping to kind of eliminate a lot of the slow touch points along these processes for the customers. It's helping the firm mitigate their own risk in doing business with a
Yes.
fraudster, and then it's also helping to secure that customer's data as well.
Interesting. As you're talking, not to be political, but gun control is on the minds of our country today. And so I'm thinking, yeah, this would be a much more secure way to verify my identity if I'm going to go purchase a gun. I'm allowed to have a gun, or how it is that important of a process. It could be everything from something as innocent as signing up for a new checking account to something as important as qualifying for a vaccine, or purchasing a gun, or getting a driver's license, or any number of applications that have a great deal of importance, not only business wise, but socially and governance wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're seeing quite a few different industries start to pick this up. Even at a more simplistic kind of point of view from the gun control. I mean, even if you just look at travel, right? Being able to ensure the passengers getting on are who they say they are, but also if they're trying to access accounts, so reward and loyalty accounts, things like that. There's a ton of malicious activity now that we've exploded into this digital age, and
Yes.
having an extra sense or an extra mechanism to help us spot who those bad actors are across all these different engagements now. That's becoming quite valuable for organizations.
Where there is change and disruption, there is opportunity. Before we get to questions, I want to just ask, where do you see the opportunities with this technology? We've talked about some of the applications in today's world. What about the future world? What about 5 years from now? What are the opportunities that might present themselves?
Great question. I think two things that we're starting to even pilot with customers, and I think these will further expand down further. So today, we're looking at facial recognition and discussing the importance of that document intelligence side in helping to process that. Um, this is going to, I think, expand further into other areas. So even voice recognition as well, right? So, we're experimenting with few banks as well. So being able to recognize your voice instead of having to, provide very specific, social security information or such over the phone. So being able to verify who you are just by your voice alone, I think that is looking at, something that's going to be coming up very quickly in the next couple years. So that's going to be another layer here for helping preventing fraud and streamlining, quicker customer service. Finally, I'll also mention on that topic, this again isn't just the capture element alone of IDs and passports. It's really more about being able to integrate into these customer workflows that we mentioned earlier today, from applications to onboarding and further. So there's going to be more benefit to being able to look at that more holistically from a digital workflow transformation perspective.
All right, very good, Tyler. I know I want to get to some questions. We are with Tyler Suss, Director of Product Marketing at for Intelligent Automation Systems at Kofax. Tell us a little bit more about Kofax, Tyler.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kofax has been a leader in the intelligent document processing market for quite some time. So, really, when we talked about all of those uh, kind of AI document intelligence pieces, we've been making, market leading investments to make that easier for customers to be able to apply and to be able to use. We've made additional investments in more automation technologies like RPA. We've been recognized by Gartner and Forrester in the last few years as being another leader in those areas. But we really look at how we can help customers apply these advanced intelligent automation technologies faster and easier, and also make it easier longer term. So as they want to be able to grow and add on more services, they're able to do so. So really, it doesn't matter where customers are along their journey. We're able to help them get from their current state to to a more mature state of automation, and reap more benefits as they go.
That is Tyler Suss with Kofax. Find him and find out more at kofax.com. Tyler, at this point, I think I want to turn it back over to Teresa to see if we might have a few questions from our attendees today. Teresa, are you there?
Hey, Kevin. Yes, I am here. And we do have a few questions that have come in. And actually, let me start with this one here. Kevin, this actually came in when you were speaking at the very beginning,
Okay.
in your intro part of it. And someone made the comment, it was not so much a question and more of a comment, that if a process cannot be improved, you're still better off for thinking through that. Um, can you share some, thoughts, expertise, your experiences
Yeah.
in talking with people about, the exercises of just, working through those different types of those different types of analysis and planning
Con-
on that?
Continuous process improvement is just that, a continuous process. So as a process improvement agent, I think it is our responsibility to evaluate critical processes on a consistent basis. With, I don't know what time frame that needs to be, but on a periodic basis. And indeed, verify whether or not improvements are needed. If indeed no improvements are needed, then that's a good thing. We verify that we're in good shape. We're feeling like we can move forward again with confidence moving forward.
Mhm.
The assumption that my baby isn't ugly, however, is a problem. It's easy to say, well, we don't have any improvement opportunities, until all of a sudden a team of people that come in that have maybe an outside perspective or a dispassionate perspective of the process does take a look and sees that there are improvement opportunities that can be had, often with new developments in technologies that we're talking about today. So it's for those very reasons that I think a change agent must really look at it with a dispassionate point of view and say, look, we need to verify that our process is correct. Look, if we were going to land on Mars with a rover, we wouldn't assume that the process that we used 5 years ago for our last rover would still apply today. We just wouldn't do that, because the likelihood of project failure is unacceptable. And so I would approach it like that and say, look, if indeed we have no improvement opportunities here, that's great. Then we'll just check that off and move on to something else.
Tyler, I had a question come in for you, and someone was asking, when you were discussing the digital identity verification, how does the selfie ID comparison handle cases of like radical weight change? What if someone's 100 pounds different in their weight, from what's in that legal tendered ID? How is something like that addressed?
Yeah, absolutely a great question. I if I showed my driver's license on camera today, I think many would think that that does not look like me either. So I think some of the best practices when implementing this technology is really to start with setting appropriate and realistic expectations, right? And that's to say, not all fraudulent documents will be caught, not all valid documents will be let through. So there's actions that you can take to improve these results based on the use case, based on the customer and their risk tolerance, and also you should be trying to produce some real spoof cases as well. So, I think with the understanding again that it is not a 100% match. There will be errors. It's important to think through that. And then again, from the risk tolerance of the use case, right? If they're trying to log into a dating app or something versus a more a banking mobile app, right? There's definitely different risk tolerances there,
Mhm.
and should be acted accordingly on how to proceed with those. We often recommend also best practices. Beware of image quality as well. There's tools and components within the SDK to ensure the quality of images of both IDs and selfies. Images should be straight. There's multiple kind of best practices in terms of lighting and things like that as
Mhm.
well to help improve that
Yeah.
that quality for the analyzer.
Yeah.
What about deep fake? Tom Cruise, right? What about the
And
whole deep fake aspect of it? How do we work with that?
Really, so if you kind of look at what we call the testing element, so the solution tuning, right? Solution tuning is a critical step in really setting up this verification element, and there's multiple steps. One is the happy path testing. So that's really sending known valid document through the solution. Use the capture method as well by the end users, and evaluate those results, and adjust thresholds accordingly. Then there's the spoof testing as well, right? So send known invalid documents through to the solution. Customers, you will know, what type of fraud documents they're used to seeing, and they should have examples of or be able to make those. And then you review those results, and adjust the thresholds accordingly. So again, when we remember, the back end technologies here that we're talking about around machine learning, so the system improves over time. So the more, again, examples and tuning that I kind of just described, the happy path and the spoof, the more accurate over time the system will become.
it sounds very reminiscent of the instructions that we were learning, 10 plus years ago with improving your capture system. It's the modern equivalent of that with this type of technology.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Well, I just wanted to mention just one thing here about what's coming up with AIM 21 with our conference here, and just have a look at some of our some really awesome speakers that we have lined up for the AIM conference. And this year, including two really awesome keynote speakers that I know we have booked so far. Shelley Archambault, who is the former CEO of Metric Stream, a Silicon Valley-based governance, risk, and compliance apps company, and also Eric Qualman, a #1 best-selling author and speaker on digital leadership. And I recently got to see a new presentation of Eric's, and I can't wait to hear what he has for us in store for the conference. So I'm really excited that both of these people are going to be here for conference. And if you register for the all access or VIP level, by March 31st, you'll receive a free ebook from each of our keynote speakers. So to get the full list of all of our amazing AIM 21 speakers, the types of sessions, the variety of sessions, Georgina Cullen and the AIM conference team has been working nonstop, as you can imagine, on setting up an awesome experience for all of us in this next month. So if you just go to aimconference.com and you can get more information and register for the event. So it looks like that we are getting to the end of our event here today. We have recorded this webinar. You will be able to catch everything that you have heard. Look in chat for some resources. The link to our resources page. Please, I greatly appreciate it if you would take our feedback survey. Also very much want to thank our underwriter, Kofax. Without support from our solution providers, we wouldn't be able to bring you these free educational programs. So thank you, Kofax, for your underwriting support and your sponsorship. So as we bring this event to a close, I just want to ask each of our speakers for their closing thought or key takeaway. So let me start first with Tyler Suss of Kofax. Your closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa, and again, thank you all for joining the session today. Hope you found some of the information here valuable. And again, as you proceed, no matter where you're at in your intelligent automation journey, I think really thinking through it the lens of document intelligence, connected systems, process orchestration will really help you find the higher value automation opportunities in going forward on your path. So best of luck there. And again, thank you for having us.
Thank you. And Kevin Crane of AIM, your closing thoughts today.
Thanks, Teresa. Yeah, I'll just go back to some of what I said at the start. Our organizations all run on processes, things that really matter, things that move the needle in terms of organizational performance and revenue and profit. Where should you look? Our research tells us that organizations should look at the crossings of departments, processes, and systems for the most opportunity, and looking at bringing more intelligence to documents and workflow and orchestrating that together in ways that matter, I think are a broader discussion than simply the technology. And it's been great to explore some of those aspects today.
Thank you, Kevin. And that's all we have time for today. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your being here with us. For AIM, this is Teresa Resick, and we will see you with our next event. And have a great afternoon.